Welcome to Roma to Sonoma, where we explore the rich history and vibrant future of two iconic regions, California and Italy. I'm Lane. I'm a wine journalist from Sonoma.
And I'm Pia, a sommelier based here in Rome. And in today's episode, we are diving into the remarkable contributions of women in the wine industry, from historical figures to modern day kind of movers and shakers. Okay, so let's kind of get started. So I feel like, as you and I have discussed before, Lane, women have played a really significant role in the history of winemaking, even though sometimes their contributions haven't necessarily been that celebrated, because obviously, particularly historically, it was a very kind of male-dominated industry. But I was thinking that particularly in Italy, one of the key sort of figures, Italian figures that have helped shape the wine industry is actually Caterina de Medici, who was obviously from the noble family of Florence, the Medici family. And she actually married Henry II, so the Duke of Orleans in France. And she's kind of known as this cultural ambassador because she brought to France, even though obviously she wasn't directly in the winemaking or viticulture industry, she brought to France a lot of kind of gastronomical and culinary traditions from Italy to France and really brought the idea of pairing to France. So whereas, obviously French cuisine, the cuisine has always been very important. Wine was kind of seen more as a thing that they combined with it, where she really brought the idea of pairing the two. And because she brought so much sort of gastronomical traditions from Italy and chefs and sommelier, she also brought the wines of Italy with her. So, for example, Chianti, Vernaccia di San Gimignano. And so it kind of really influenced that side of the kind of the culture of dining in France, and actually also vice versa, because she brought back with her to Italy a lot of the kind of winemaking practices and knowledge from France to Italy, which were then used in the Tuscan region. And this kind of really, she's seen as this historical figure who's really had an influence on those kind of on sort of the evolution, let's put it that way, of wine pairings with food and the importance that wine has in French culinary traditions. And yeah, I
That's a
feel
quick
like
question. I don't know why this just popped into my mind. Was she somehow related, or did someone married like uh Napoleon, or Napoleon's sister
this is
married someone?
beyond my scope.
Okay, okay.
I'm afraid what I can tell you from my reading is that three of her sons were kings of France at diverse times with diverse names, which I can't tell you now.
Okay,
All I
okay.
know is, yeah, but
I
she
feel
really
like there
influenced.
was,
She's a very influential figure in like the Renaissance period in the 1500s, basically in Italy.
yeah, I have some like weird recollection of Napoleon, someone married into Napoleon, some Italian that kind of brought those families together for a
Probably,
power
yeah.
thing. But anyway, what do I
No,
know?
no, no. I mean, I think that sounds right. So yeah, so that's
Yeah.
the first historical figure I think we should be thinking about, and
Yeah, that's a huge
obviously
one.
it is a
And then
huge
there's
one.
that, and then we also, I think everyone knows Veuve Clicquot.
Of
And
course,
you pronounce that, you need to say it because you pronounce it
Veuve
perfectly.
Clicquot.
Perfect. And I just watched the movie about her, and so I know a little bit more about her story to the extent that it's based on a true story. I'm guessing it's probably pretty close. And the fact that she started this with her husband, she started a winery and she was, making champagne with her husband, and he died. And when she was quite young, and she almost lost the entire business because his father was kind of against the business to begin with and was kind of financially backing it. But when he died, he just wanted to sell it. And all of the kind of advisors that he worked with, they were really pressuring her. She was really under a lot of pressure, and she was really alone to try to keep it running and keep it going, really in her husband's honor, really because it was his dream. And it took quite a few years for her to really gain some traction. So it is always, I think, so impressive when you think of women from that era that
Yeah,
were, you
absolutely.
know, even willing to fight like that for something that was not seen as like, I guess, the woman's place at that time, and to be successful, to be
Yeah,
successful.
absolutely.
She
Absolutely.
deserves wine in her name. She really does deserve it. She
She
earned it.
does. She does. I completely agree. And actually, when you say that about the sort of the challenges that she faced, it makes me think of, you remember when we were in Sicily and we met with the Pellegrino, the people from the Pellegrino winery, and they told us a little bit about uh, the importance of the wife of Paolo Pellegrino. You know, it was this winery that was started, I feel like it was 1880, but he died fairly prematurely, I think. And the wife came in, who was a French woman, and you've got to imagine, Sicily in the 1880s, a French woman taking over the winery business, but actually was responsible for making so many of the important innovations and changes within the family industry, and so much so that actually when you go into the winery, there's that you remember that beautiful family tree, and she's really at the top of it as the person who drove their success, basically. I think her name was Mathilde. But yeah, very interesting. A very interesting winery, also of the Marsala region. And talking of Marsala region and important women, you'll remember obviously also Donnafugata.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a great example, Donnafugata. I mean, of the modern women, because I would consider that still modern because what they bought Donnafugata in the 80s. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
right?
right. Yeah, yeah.
Which is still pretty I guess sort of recent. But the mother to me was so impressive. I mean, Jose, who's running it now, is a woman, the daughter, and she's very impressive in what she's done. But the mother really, as I recall, the mother inherited this estate and really she was doing something completely, she had a different career and so did the husband, and they completely gave it up to start Donna Fugata, which is the name, it comes from the Il Gatto Pardo, the
Yeah.
Leopard, the famous novel written by Lampedusa. Is that what the author's name is? I believe. But anyway, Donna Fugata is a character in that novel. It means a fleeing woman, and uh, and it was the name of an estate in the novel, and so they named the winery Donna Fugata, and she also then was very, I mean, I think to me, before I ever knew anything about Donna Fugata, I knew the labels.
Yeah, of
Those
course. Those iconic labels, actually.
iconic, and they're so beautiful, and it's all
They
images
are
of women.
so beautiful.
And it's so unique. It's like it's got its like stamp, it has its
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
and
I
she
think it's
works.
probably the most important wine estate of the Marsala region. It's more important, like it's more prominent even than Pellegrino or Florio.
Well, there's Planeta, but
Yeah,
Planeta's throughout Sicily. And I guess maybe so is, where else? Don't forget to have some other locations as
they
well,
do
like
have. They have other
Pantelleria.
estates, and they do both indigenous grapes, but they also do international ones.
Right, right. But anyway, yeah, Donna Fugate. And the woman is in the name. Woman is in
Yeah,
the name. So
exactly. Amazing women. Amazing women. And yeah, and then obviously there are more kind of, you know, today's modern
Jose.
women.
Yeah, and then Jose. What is Jose doing? As the Jose, you say it again. Say it again. How do you
José.
yeah. Jose. And then what she's doing within the company is also pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's like 50, it's more than 50% of the executive board are women, I think. And
I
she's really
believe it's
been,
more than 50%. Yeah, I
yeah,
did a story with Jose and Donna Fugata and their collaboration with Dolce and Gabbana. And
nice.
so through that and interviewing her, she's really the face. She has a brother who's a winemaker, but she's really the face of the brand in this generation. And she's very proud of the fact that they have so many women in prominent positions there. It's really a testament to, you know,
Yeah, it is.
Donna is in the name, so it makes sense. And then also modern, like on this side, on the Sonoma side, she's actually in Napa, but there is this really powerhouse female winemaker named Heidi Barrett. And she's incredible. Robert Parker called her the first lady of wine. And she has been a winemaker for so many major brands like Screaming Eagle. I don't know if you've heard of these brands, but like
Yeah.
Screaming Eagle, Dalla Valle. She has her own brand, La Sirena. She has Amuse Bouche. Her husband, I hate to kind of ever bring in the woman when talking about a woman. You know what I mean? As far as like that makes her, gives her something. But it's kind of interesting that her husband, they also have a label, Barrett and Barrett, but he's the winemaker and at Chateau Montelena, which became famous during the Judgment of Paris. Do you know that story about the Judgment of
Wow.
Paris?
Yeah.
It won. It won the wine gate.
Wow.
Yeah. And so her husband's also a very well-known winemaker as well. She grew up in Napa and her father was a winemaker. And so she grew up, I've interviewed her and she told the story about how, she would, like ride horses. There were no boundaries in Napa at that time. I'm not
Bless you.
sure how, I'm sorry, it's cough. I'm not sure how old she is, but I want to say she's probably somewhere in her maybe 60s. And
Okay.
so she lived in Napa in a period when it was really rural, not commercial, and she grew up in that. And so she's a very much a Renaissance woman. She is a helicopter pilot and she consults for so many different wineries. She flies herself to the wineries in the helicopter to save time. To save time. She's also like a very accomplished scuba diver. And that's why the name of her winery is, or her own label is La Serena. That's kind of like her emblematic thing. She's so into like the water. She also is an artist.
Oh my goodness
I
me.
mean,
I mean,
really,
these overachievers. Oh my goodness.
it's crazy. But she consults for so many wineries too. And she has two daughters. They're both in the wine business. She has grandkids now. I mean, she's a really, really cool woman. She's just really interesting. And actually, I believe it's is it La Serena or Amuse Bouche? One of them, her art is actually on the labels. Her art is
Amazing.
used for the labels. And it's an interesting, I like her art a lot. It's very whimsical. So it gives a different side of her because she is like, she just kind of comes across as so strong, so like really, powerful. Apparently she was also in the movie Bottle Shock. Did you ever see that movie Bottle Shock?
I didn't ever see that movie, no.
It's a story about the wine industry from like maybe 20 years ago or something. And apparently, like when she was younger, she was super like girly looking, like she really was going out. And not that she's not now. She's a beautiful woman, by the way, also beautiful woman. But she comes across as very like, she's got a persona that's quite strong, like a helicopter pilot, as you imagine.
As you
But
imagine.
as you would imagine, she's got to be a little bit tough. But she's just she kind of has it all. She kind of has it all. So she's inspirational, I think, for a lot of women to have really been getting involved in wine in the 70s, 80s, 90s. She was in the 90s, she was already like Robert Parker's like, golden child winemaker sort of person because she was,
Amazing.
yeah. So anyway, she's still out there doing it. I don't see her probably ever retiring. By the way, just a little aside, I actually went to their ranch to interview her and went into her artist studio. It's idyllic. I mean, she like they grow their own food. They have like the whole her sister is a chef and her sister like has some like famous chocolate brands. So like it's just a whole thing. They should do a movie about that family, really, about her.
Amazing.
Really. So anyway, I've gushed. I've gushed enough, but that's it. Heidi Barrett, First Lady of Wine. Very inspirational. Very inspirational. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But I don't think it's just when we're thinking about wine, it's not just, doesn't have to just be a winemaker, It can
Right,
also
right, right.
be,
So people in wine, absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And so I think someone that stands out to me a lot, who's right here in Sonoma, is Karen MacNeil. And people may know her. She's a journalist, she's a wine journalist, but she was also the first wine and food correspondent on the Today Show. She
Oh,
teaches
wow.
wine like culture at Stanford. She wrote probably one of the biggest wine books called The Wine Bible.
Yep, yep,
And
yep, yep, yep.
yeah, right now today she has the biggest wine digital newsletter, and I believe the world, and it's called Wine Speed. If you ever see it, it's worth checking out. But Time Magazine did like a full page profile on her as like being such an important influential person in wine. She does a lot of like presentations. Obviously, she's a writer. She's an excellent writer. She has a list of awards. I have to like read this. I'm not going to get them all if I don't. Apparently, she's won every major wine award that is given in English. Every one of them. She has the she has won the James Beard Award for wine writing, the Roederer for the best consumer wine writing, the Wine and Spirits Award for the Wine Communicator of the Year. Yeah, she's that. Oh, Time Magazine called her America's Missionary of the Vine. And
Nice.
yeah, she's one of
Nice.
the top 100 most influential people in wine. Yeah, anyway, all of these, yeah, cool. She hosted a PBS series on wine and food. It's really, I'm just looking at this going, it's crazy. She was the first food and wine editor of USA Today. It's like it is kind of crazy. Heidi Barrett and Karen MacNeil. It's not just like, oh, they've done like some things. They've just like they are of that. I will say they are that age though that they really were trailblazers in their time for sure. It's not
Yeah.
like today where there are a lot of there are a lot of women that are winemakers and then wine writers and all of that. It's not like a big deal, but it was a big deal in their time when they started. It was a really big deal and they just really succeeded. They just pushed it and really, really, really made their marks. So
Yeah, and made a space for people, who came after them.
absolutely, 100%, 100%. And then Karen's out there teaching now. So, I mean, she's really passing it on as well. Heidi is too, mainly, just by being inspirational, but also through her daughters,
Yeah,
because they're both
absolutely.
out there doing wine stuff as well. I believe the one daughter is a winemaker for other brands, but then her uh, daughter Remy is in wine like marketing and writing and that kind of thing. So and she works a lot with her mom. So anyway, so yeah, those are
That's
our
so awesome.
yeah. So I
So
think those are just
awesome.
a few really great examples of what's
Yeah,
going on today. And there's just so many more that we could talk
yeah,
about it. Like
yeah, absolutely.
I think of like Oki Pinti, she's she's a winemaker in Sicily, but also in I believe Campania, they have, and maybe Tuscany. And
Hmm.
she's kind of like a winemaker who's one of those more famous for being a female winemaker that I
Yeah,
think of, you know. And then just
absolutely.
I think it's really nice to say that there are so many female winemakers right now.
Yeah,
And
completely. And
nice
so
to
whether
say.
it's winemakers, sommelier, or wine critics, women are shaping the future of wine in remarkable ways.
Yeah, well put. Well put. I guess that's it. So, everyone check out your female winemakers, but also it's important to know the history too, because there are some women who have been uber strong and made a real difference, and we need to acknowledge them.
Absolutely. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video.
Yes, very much so. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.